Hi everyone, a very warm welcome to SIC's first virtual webinar, Beat the Limbo. I'm Pritika Nayak, the overall lead for Student Inclusion Cell.
And I'm Sasha, Nazareth, the lead for Media and Communications.
We're going to be moderating this session today. So before we begin, I'd just like to give a few instructions to our audience. So we've muted everyone by default to avoid some background disturbance. We kindly request you to keep your videos off and switch it on towards the end of the session so that we can get a group picture captured. In case you have any questions, please route it via the chat box and we'll be happy to take them. And this session is also being YouTube live streamed. So we kindly request you to encourage your friends to join or watch it later on. So the SIC aims to promote inclusion and accessibility across all events on campus, especially for the differently abled. We're doing this series basically to keep our audience optimistic and motivated during the lockdown period. So we really do hope that you make the most of these sessions and enjoy them. So let's get started. We're thrilled to introduce you to our speaker, Karishma Mehta. Karishma Mehta started Humans of Bombay in 2014 on her whim. Her love affair for stories and books has always formed an important part of her life. From voraciously reading to now dictating bite-sized anecdotes for everyone to read in the world, storytelling has ruled her life. 6 years and 1 million followers later, she's here to inspire tons of people. And we really hope she's come a long way. She's here to share some tips and tricks with us. So thank you so much for joining in, Karishma ma'am. We welcome you and let's get started.
Hi.
Hi, ma'am. So we're going to start with a very simple Q&A.
Okay, great.
Our first question for you is, since our theme for this session is the importance of personal storytelling, we would love to know, how do you view a story and what is the power of a narrative and the importance of sharing it with the world?
Okay, so in terms of the narrative that we pick, right? Like we tell really intimate, personal stories that we feel like people can relate to when they read it, and it's adding value to their lives, no matter who's reading it, from which walk of life you are, you will find something. It's a slice of life kind of format. For us, I think being authentic and true to the person's story who we're telling is of utmost importance. And that's something that we really kind of focus on. And in terms of personal storytelling, I think that that is the best advice I can give you is like, stay true to what it is and stay true to the person's story who you're telling and keep it as raw and authentic as possible.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. So everyone has a story to share. I'm sure it's challenging and confusing, to decide which story to feature.
Right.
So how do you choose the stories that you feature on Humans of Bombay?
So I have a team. I do not make any kind of decisions by myself. And we have a great team who's constantly researching. Before the lockdown, we were actually going out onto the street and finding people and just speaking to them on the street without knowing who they were. But right now, we've been obviously doing a lot of research. We get a huge influx of story briefs from people who want to share their narrative. So after we vet the process, we kind of vet, that the story is as authentic as possible. We kind of go forward with an interview. And we really believe that every person has a story. So we tried our best to kind of bring that out into the forefront.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am. So the next question for you, ma'am, is in Humans of Bombay, as we know, there are so many stories and they're very deep. So how do you like delve into them and warm up to them to know more particulars of their story? So how do you like ask them questions about their life and how do they open up to you? So what are your tips of like when you talk to them?
Okay, so I have to give credit to my team here. I don't do very many interviews right now. I do some interviews where I know the person, or I do some interviews, but my team is amazing and they really make the person feel comfortable. I think the basic premise that we operate on is just trying to have a conversation. We don't try to make it an interview. We don't try to make it something that is very intrusive in that sense. So we try to make it like a conversation, and when you try to have a genuine conversation, care about what the other person has to say, you find that people really open up. So I feel like for us, that is our first go-to.
Okay, thank you.
Right. I think we're very lucky to have you here since you mentioned you don't do interviews frequently. So I think we're very grateful and thank you for joining us.
Yeah,
Um,
Unnati told me that post about this on your story, whatever. I was just like, you know what, that's gonna create so many more problems for me, because there's just been like a lot of requests, and like I don't do very many of these, because I genuinely like in between running things right now, especially during the lockdown, the time is of essence. So I can't do those many. So I don't want others to feel bad, like I did something and I didn't do it. So I just told her, like let's just like avoid that for now.
yeah, right. That makes us feel more special. But anyways, moving on. So you've inspired tons of people to start their own humans of pages. As a matter of fact, even Xavier's has our own humans of Xavier's where they feature interesting stories quite often. So how did this idea about, featuring the common man come about?
So it's fully inspired by Humans of New York. I cannot take any credit for it. It's fully inspired by Humans of New York, where it, I was in college when I personally used to read his blog, and I remember I used to binge it. And there was like the thing that I did was I typed Humans of Bombay on Facebook. There was no, I don't even know if there was Instagram back then, and nothing came up. So I just blocked it, and that's literally how I was like, okay, you know what, I really want to do this, because I felt something in that moment, and
Hmm.
um, uh, I feel like feeling in this in a space where you're so overloaded with information and ads and I don't know, like just content. Where if there's a piece that makes you feel something, it's very priceless. And I think that's when, I mean, I never knew, to be honest, that this is where it was going to lead. But the thought kept lingering in my head, and like it was in the back of my mind. Um, and then I guess like I just went on the first shoot, and that was that.
Thank you. Okay, ma'am, regarding actually that, as we all know, Humans of New York CEO is Brandon Stanton. So have you ever met him and like spoken with him about this?
Yeah, we met for brunch when he was in Bombay. He's a really tall guy, and I was. We had a really great conversation actually, and he was interested to know what we were doing, and I was interested to know where they were going with it. But he's a really nice guy. And yeah, I texted him when I was in New York saying I'm in New York. Like, do you want to meet? But like, he wasn't available. But I've met him once.
Oh, that's great. Okay, as we all know, you've been featured in Forbes, which is a great thing.
Forbes Asia. I've not been featured in the Forbes
Okay,
Asia.
so
Yeah.
great. So, how did you feel when you got featured in Forbes? And also, can you please add on to once I've seen your TED Talks and I saw you talking about the law of attraction, which really inspired me as a person. So, I would really love if you could even tell us about that theory and about Forbes.
Okay. So Forbes. I was 24 when I got featured in Forbes Asia, and ever since I knew what Forbes was, which was back in boarding school, I was 17, and it was thing that all these boys were talking about like Forbes entrepreneurs and things like that. And me and my best friend Tiffany were the only two girls who were like, we want to get in on that as well. And yeah, I really believe that I did attract it into my life because um, it's going to sound silly, but basically Okay, let's put it this way. Okay, so like for that year, my every new year, like I track things and like I call it to me. And my password was Forbes 2016, and I got featured in Forbes in 2016. Uh, and
Wow.
anybody who ever like argues with me about the law of attraction, about like power of the subconscious mind, or like being and aligning with who you are and what you want to be, um, I tell them that. I say that it can't be a coincidence if it happened down to the year in the year that I wanted it to happen. And that's what I also keep pushing myself to motivate myself on. And it's something that I feel like it's out there. Everybody. So this is what you don't understand about the law of attraction is that whether you like it or not, you're attracting. So the law of attraction is happening to you whether you believe it or whether you don't. But controlling how you attract and what you attract is something that's in your control. And that is the mastery and that is the art that you spend. I study every single day till now and I meditate on, but know this, that there's no escaping the law of attraction. You are attracting right now, whether good things are happening to you or bad things are happening to you, they're happening from a place of attraction. So read about it, and I would say it changed my life. And there are two people who I know who use the law of attraction to the extent that it is. Actually, there are now a couple of people because I feel like everybody's become mindful and things like that. But back when we were in school, like my school um, class growing up is Masoom. I don't know if you guys know her, Masoom Minawala. She's a
Yes,
fat
we do.
yeah, and me. And the two of us always discuss this that again it's not a coincidence because we attract from that position, and she is an ardent follower as well, and very often
Mm.
people will listen to our conversations and say what the hell are you guys talking about, and only we know, but like it works, so I guess it works out for everybody.
That's really interesting, ma'am. Thank you so much. I think it's something that our
See,
audience
I
will.
must stop you now, it's happened enough. Call me Karishma. Really,
Okay.
I feel super like I feel old, just like I was in college not too long ago. So yeah, I mean,
Right.
college long ago, but yeah, let's keep it informal.
Sure. Right. So yeah, I think what you said, Karishma, made a lot of sense, and that's something for our audience to reflect on. And especially in times of such a crisis, I think definitely we all need to be more optimistic and adopt positive thinking. So
Right.
just a follow up to that. So I think your first business knocks, which a lot of people don't know about, was about positive thinking and affirmation. So
So
can you elaborate more on that?
yeah, so I love knock. Okay, like, and now somebody else has also brought it up in some live, and I'm like, now this has become a popular topic. But anyway, I was straight out of college, and I was like highly deluded to believe that I was not deluded. I was just like, yeah, I can do what I want, whatever. I'm ahead of the curve, and like I want to do this and I want to do that, whatever. And then I thought, okay, I'm going to do this, right? Like this is what I believe in at the highest level. So I'm going to start these classes all of 21. So I started it. I still started it. And like, I remember we had these really little micro cards that had like quotes on it
Hmm.
that said, everything I touch turns to gold and things like that. And we
Wow.
were part of an exhibition, and me and one of my college friends, Ali, who did the graphics for them, were just giving it out like confetti and being like, like sending out these like positive affirmations into the universe, whatever. Like that was
Hmm.
our thing. And till date, people send me photos of having those cards in their wallet because they were like that tiny. And I was in fact discussing this with another friend, and she was like, "You know what? That idea was great. It was just that timing." And I said, "Yeah, like if I did something like that now, where the consciousness of the world is increased, and I've like matured. Obviously, I'm not a 21-year-old delinquent college grad. It could work." So I was like, you know what? I'm definitely going to do this. Like, I'm going to like revive Knock in the distant future. near future, and like do it again, because I think it works. It's amazing. Like I did like one workshop where I did like creative visualization exercises and like affirmations and things like that, and it was great. I really had fun, and it was the first money I ever earned. That was that. But apart from that, I think it was a great like it's a great learning curve into like balancing my ambitions and believing that I can do whatever I want, but not too much, because I still think I can do whatever I want if I really set my mind and attract it. But I think that timing was off, but still, I love it.
Thank you so much. Okay, so our next question for you is, what is the driving force that keeps on motivating you even today, even though you would be having so many on-ground challenges? So what does keep you going for this?
I'm just a very, I don't know, like this is a really tough question. So I've been asked this a lot. What keeps you going? You know, and like I don't want to be cliche about it and saying, oh, like I'm motivated and like ambitious or whatever, because I don't think that's the truth. What like what I don't know. I don't think I'm doing it to prove any point, but like okay, so like simply put, breaking it down, like I love what I do. I just genuinely don't feel like I'm at work, and I've created an environment where I have a team that's as crazy as me, like in the sense like there'll be random group chats happening on of the team at 3 in the morning, where like one person says something and then somebody else says something else, and I'm like, I know I'm pretty crazy, but why have y'all joined in onto this bandwagon? Like, sleep. But I just genuinely love what I do. And I don't think there's a day in my life that I work. And I work all days, every day, and there's nothing else that I would do, and there's nowhere else I'd rather be.
That's great.
Nice. So I think yeah, in today's times, I think it's super like important to have a team that's exciting, and you need to be in like the right place to thrive. So I mean, I'm sure like Humans of Bombay was kind of like a leap of faith for you when you started it back then when you were 21. So what would you like? I mean, what would have been your backup if it weren't Humans of Bombay, or like what would you recommend someone right out of college who wants to like have their own startup or is in contemplating something similar?
I absolutely hate giving advice on this question. I feel really responsible for what I say now. And I'm usually the kind of person who's just like go for it, you know, like I don't know what is like I very frequently have these conversations, whether it's my family or my friends or my colleagues or whoever it is, like just like stop whining or like whatever, like just go for it, you know. And that may not necessarily be the right advice, because while it worked out for me, you having a stable job is what's best for you, because it's not your thing. So like I don't know, you know, like I just feel like you have to be the architect of your own life and the architect of your own career, and ask yourself some really difficult questions. I believe that introspection is really dead, in the sense that you have to look inwards before you can be outwards. And I really believe that from the bottom of my heart, that I ask myself, I meditate a lot, so there's a lot of like inward thinking, like where do I want to be or what do I want to do. And this sounds like, okay, you know what, these are kind of generic questions, but they're life changing. Like if you're 21 and you're thinking, I have this really great idea, what do I want to get, like what do I want to do. The thing is, where most ideas die is between ideas and execution. So like if you want to really execute, do you even want to do that? Because a lot of people have a bunch of ideas, but like to execute is bloody hard work. I cannot put it any other way. I won't put it any other way, because while I'm all like, oh, I'm Zen and I meditate and like whatever, these kind of things, but like I work hard every single day, and like I am on top of it every single day. Like there have been days where in the lockdown, especially, where I've had 15-hour work days easy. and I'm the first one in office, and I'm usually the last one to leave. And like, I mean, okay, no, that's a lie. I'm not the last one to leave, because like I leave early, but I'm definitely the first one in at all times. And then there's a trickling, everybody enters, and then there's like a little walk of shame because they see me sitting there and I can see everybody coming in at their timings. And then the next day I'll see that people come a little sooner. But to be honest, like I feel like you got to have it in you to put your idea into fruition if you want to do a startup. And if you don't have that inclination, ask yourself some different questions whether you actually would see it through.
Right. Right. But this would also require, I mean, support from your family and peers, right? So
Of course,
were they supportive?
my parents were confused. The adjective I would use would be that, because they were like, you're going out and talking to people on the street and uploading stories on some random Facebook page. It's a page. Like, chill out. Um, Also, I'm like the worst person to again give this advice, because your question initially was like, what would your backup be?
Right.
I've never been that person to have a safety net, and I don't think that's the right way to be. So that's why I always give this disclaimer saying I did it because that's just how I operate and that's the kind of person I am. But like, I've never made a CV in my life, and that's how horrible I can be. I've never made a CV. Like, and I look at CVs of people who are applying, and I'm like, I don't really know what to compare it to because I've never done it. So like, I literally ask my COO Devanshu, who's my like the backbone of the company, pretty much, like, how do you, what can you judge this? Like, how do I do this? And she's just like in disbelief at a lot of things that I say. Therefore, again, I say that A, you must think of having a safety net. B, your parents' support is imperative if you're ever planning on going out on your own. Because I bootstrapped my way through the first 2 years and didn't make money. Did I not have supportive parents, I would definitely not be where I am today. Uh, but be responsible about your privilege. I believe I'm speaking to a group of people who possibly could have that kind of cushioning. But I want to say that don't take it for granted and be responsible with it. The second I started making money, I paid my dad off with interest. And I believe that that's the best decision I've made because it taught me the value of that money. Because what did I not have it? Like, I know how long it took me to earn the amount he lent me, and if I didn't know that, I wouldn't value it. And that's something that I would always say, is that respect where you come from and know that it is unbelievable the kind of hard work it takes to earn any amount of money. And especially today, like, look around you, people are losing jobs and people are like in really bad situations. So definitely, if you're planning on doing it, you need to have that support and you need to have an honest conversation if at all you feel that passionate about seeing the idea through.
Okay, thank you so much. That was great advice. So our next question for you is, this is the most asked question. What is the business model for Humans of Bombay? How do you generate revenue in your company?
Okay, so we do a lot of fruitful collaborations where we tell 100% true stories, but for brand campaigns, we are priced in a way that we only work with the top 1% of companies. So whether it's your Tinder or your Uber or your Amazon or like Ariel, Colgate, FMCG brands, but we keep it true to the story again. So every story that you read that is part of branded content is 100% true. So you will never read a fabricated story in Humans of Bombay, which is what we stick our guns to. We have a book. We've had a book, but we have another book coming out in December. It's getting published by HarperCollins, and that is my biggest kick in life because I love reading. So like ever so often, I'm just like, screw everything else. I'm an author. Like I'm just gonna stick to that, and that's the thing I want on my tombstone. And yeah, we have an exciting few months coming up because we may have we do have a show coming up on one of the OTT platforms.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So, ma'am, so sorry, Karishma. So Humans of Bombay has raised funds for several people and organizations, including Kranti, which works for the daughters of sex workers in Mumbai. So how did this thought of utilizing this platform for a larger purpose come to you?
So it came to me from somewhere else. Somebody asked me for help. So Kranti, Robin asked me for help and said, look, I'm on the street. I have 20 girls with me who are all between the age of 13 to like 21. And the landlord basically found out that that we are the daughters of sex workers. So he threw us out. Um, what can you do? I was like, I have no idea. Let me tell a story, one person's story. And she said, I said, what amount do you want? And she said 5 lakhs. And at the time I was like, dude, 5 lakhs is a lot of money. But let's try it anyway. So I told the story of a girl who was really proud of her mother, who was a sex worker. And we raised 6.5 lakhs. So that's when I knew that the power of storytelling is limitless. And if you do it right, you can do it really, really right. So that's how it started. And recently we just raised 23 lakhs for a man who was wrongly imprisoned for 23 years of his life. And I just believe that it was such an emotional moment for like everybody in the team, because like we've been so invested in this person's story. It was a 6-part story. He's from Kashmir. That this is this is why we do what we do, and there's no other reason. The likes will come, the shares will come, the money will come, but like this is why we do what we do, and we will continue to do it every day.
That's great. Okay, ma'am, what is it like to be a woman entrepreneur in today's day and age? Like, there will be, I'm sure there will be some obstacles you face. So, how did you like combat them? So, can you give us some like tips for anyone out there who wants to know?
Look, I haven't really faced obstacles. I'm just being honest. I've faced odd situations, yes, but like it's never been like, oh, you're a woman, like shut up. Like firstly, I don't think anybody would say that to me, because like I just wouldn't have it. But my first collab, like the first client call that we were to take was a conference, like that was, I mean, it was in a conference room of their office, and I was not a team back then. I was me and one photographer, so I was basically doing everything, working out of home. And I walked into that conference room like in ripped jeans. I categorically remember this because like I can be really like unaware at times, right, of the seriousness of situations, which can turn out to be really funny or really just like bad. And I walked in with like ripped jeans, and there were teams, not 3 people, teams of people waiting. There was like a comms team, a CSR team, and like a marketing team, and they were all men. So that's the time when I was like, this means something, because they're all men and they're like in suits and things, and like with like, I don't know, a laptop, and I like literally rocked up in skinny jeans with a notebook, and I was like, I don't like, I'm gonna wing this, right? Like there's absolutely nothing I can do now. I can't like turn around and like leave. So like I'm going to have to make the best of the situation. So I did close that client, but like I knew that it's a narrative that I would want to share, because it should not be. Then there needed to be more women in that room. And I really believe since then, which was like back in the day, 3-4 years ago, that things have highly improved, in the sense like today I was on a really important call with PayPal, and there were 17 people on the call, and there was a girl from PayPal speaking, repping them, and I was repping Humans of Bombay, and everybody else was on mute, and it was 2 women who were leading the conversation. And in my heart, I felt really happy to be in that position, and I think everybody appreciated that it was 2 women who were leading the conversation on such an important association and such an important topic.
Right. So, ma'am, have you featured some like women leader at the top there?
Where have I seen this? In which movie have I seen this? You know, where I think it was Wake Up Sid, where he's like, he walks into this office, and the woman is like, "Hi, sir," and he's like, "Not sir, Sid," and she's like, "Okay, sir." He's like, "You're that person."
Oh my God. No. Okay,
I'm,
right.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
No. So
Okay.
no, what I was basically trying to say was that have you featured any like women leader there at the top? Because I know that you featured Ratan Tata and you also had a conversation with our Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi. So that must be really cool, like at such a young age to, get to interview such people. So what are your key learnings? And right, I wanted to know whether have you featured a women leader?
One, I featured Miss Manisha. I'm going to get this wrong because every time I talk about her, I get her company name wrong. But she's the CEO of, I think, UPS. Please don't hold me.
Yeah.
I could be completely wrong, but I think it's that. And we featured her as a part of like just generally, and she was talking about like stereotypes, and she was
Okay.
like, when her husband goes for parent teacher conferences,
Hmm.
the other mothers like raise him on a pedestal and say that's amazing that you're here. But she's
Yeah.
like, I'm closing like close to $1 billion deals for my company. And why is it such a big deal that he's attending a parent teacher conference? And I
Hmm.
think that story really broke a lot of stereotypes even in my head, where I was like, that's just wrong. Like
Yeah.
it either or. And like alternatively, if a man is working and earning the money or whatever, great, but like then also raise the woman to a pedestal, being like, thank you for being here, because it's great that you've probably made a sacrifice, or you've probably
Hmm.
stepped back from your career to be here, so raise the woman on a pedestal as well.
Right.
So I have done that, but there are a bunch of women who I'm dying to interview. Kiran Mazumdar is
Yeah,
one.
and Mazum.
Yeah. uh,
Right.
Indra Nuyu is another. I wanted at some point in my life meet Sheryl Sandberg. I wanted
Hmm.
into the Prime Minister of New Zealand, who I crush on very publicly.
Yes.
She
Wow.
probably really weird if she sees it. J.K. Rowling. I want to interview. Um, uh, I know I'm missing a bunch, like, but like even from I'm looking
Yeah.
at my bookshelf actually right now because I know I've read a couple of books where I want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I want to interview a lot more women. It's just these interviews are tough to come by. But
Hmm.
yeah, I'm definitely like we are going to make it happen in the near future.
Right. The reason I asked this was I think because Humans of Bombay is our go-to place. Like anytime, like if I'm scrolling Instagram and I'm feeling low, I read a Humans of Bombay story. It inspires me, lightens up my day. So I think, yeah, definitely like for young women like us who aspire to, excel or get into the corporate world, it would be great if we could have such stories and it would inspire us even more.
I'm going to take that very seriously. Actually, you're right,
Yeah.
and I'll work on it. I'll work on it.
Thank you. Right.
So our next question for you is: we all know that you're an avid reader. So can you give us your top 3 book recommendations, and also adding to that, like I'm sure you may be watching Netflix. So any of your favorite shows from Netflix?
I don't watch very many shows. I watch it like, okay, so something will come by and I'll just like finish it in a go. Like I watched Patal Lok. It was
Hmm.
great.
Yeah, that's
I
amazing.
watch like really gory stuff. So I tend to not make recommendations because people think I'm weird. Like I watch documentaries on like the Holocaust, and I watch like extermination camp, like prisoner stories. I love Game of Thrones. That's my favorite show. I watched Billions. I'd recommend Billions if you haven't watched it. It's on Hotstar. It's about a hedge fund manager and his conflict with the SEC in the US, and like their conflict. So I like even my show recommendations are highly like I don't watch funny stuff, or like okay, sure, like I watch Friends, but
Yeah,
I
that's
won't,
my favorite.
I won't like watch like, oh hey, this thing is out, like I remember like, so we promoted Modern Love on Amazon Prime, and like it till date shocks the team that I've never watched it, or I've never watched like 4 more shots, or like any of these because
Right.
it's not my genre.
Right.
But yeah, like Billions is one for sure. If you've not watched Game of Thrones, it's like the greatest show to have been ever made, except the last season. And I like Patal Lok. I think it was very. I watched Sacred Games. That was well made. That was
Yeah,
really
that is amazing. Yeah.
Agreed.
yeah. Book recommendations. So I don't know what. Okay, so I'll tell you books that had an impact on me. So obviously I've read The Secret, and that's how my spiritual journey began. But after that, I've read The Power of the Subconscious Mind, which is by Joseph Murphy.
Okay.
Amazing to understand like technicality of like meditation and like going deep within yourself and like being that magnet and like attracting from your subconscious. So I definitely recommend that. Since you guys are like this conversation has been a focal point on entrepreneurship and like startups, I just read Phil Knight's Shoe Dog.
Oh
It's a
my
Nike.
God, that's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just read that, and that is one of the most articulate. But like, I was a little disappointed towards the end. But like, in general, the narrative is great if you're just starting out to like
Hmm.
understand the nuances of what goes in and how many times even he's failed. Right? Like, I feel like failure is so underrated. Like, people need to talk about their
True.
failures more. He really opens up his heart and speaks a lot about his failures. So I enjoyed that book. I love Chitra Banerjee, so like I literally every recommendation I make, it's like unfair for me to not talk about how much I love her work. Forest of Enchantments, Palace of Illusions, any of those books. What else? Like I read a lot of autobiographies. I've read Gayatri Devi, A Princess Remembers. It's beautiful. It's like it takes you through Indian history pretty much. If you're into politics, I just okay. So see, this is what I you stop me because
Oh, it's
I'll
fine. It's
uh, like Indian politics. Like if you want like a little bit of like context on like we're talking about women and women who changed history, Indira Gandhi. So I suggest reading Just with Power. It's written by her niece,
Hmm.
Nayak. Yeah, I'll stop. But like if we have questions and like somebody wants like a specific genre, I can give that. But like these are like a few that I've read recently that are like great. But also like last one, I read a book of the boy who followed his father into Auschwitz. If you're into stuff like that, it's great. It's like about human relations and like a really dark period in history. So, yeah.
nice.
Wow.
Thank you so much.
That's some great recommendations there. So I know the next question is going to be a hard one to answer, but what would be like the most memorable or rewarding part of your journey so far?
Okay, so I will connect this to just one thing, not because of the person in question. I did interview the prime minister, but that was great. But the moment it happened, I knew, and I had this epiphany, which I had not learned until then, that timing is a relative. So when you're attracting or when you want things and you're doing what I do, which is I meditate and I become the magnet and kind of like attract things to me, the universe doesn't deliver or like you don't attract at a specific time. It happens when it is the most perfect time and that's when it aligns. So I that was the time I got a really important lesson in my spiritual journey that um, time is relative. So it's absolute that it will happen. It's just about when. And that's been my premise where absolutely nothing deters me to the point where I think it's not going to happen. I just know that it'll come when it has to come. So there's no in the scenario. And that was the moment that I learned that.
True. Nice. Okay, so our next question for you is what is lined up for you in the future?
So we have a show coming up lined up for me as me or like Humans of Bombay.
For you and Humans of Bombay, like both.
So Humans of Bombay, there's a ton happening. I told you there's like a book, there's a show, we'll do a podcast, we'll do all kinds of fun things. For me, I don't know, like I don't know. I've been thinking what next for a while. But I've not really arrived at like a conclusion as yet. But like I know that I want to start doing more personally where I want to give back a little bit more on my end. I want to kind of start these. This is very raw. Like I've not even like discussed this, but like I want to start these like mentorship pods with people where like in groups of 5 we can like brainstorm and like come up with really cool ideas and like support each other kind of thing. But I haven't really delved deep into it because I believe if I start something now, my team will disown me. So I'm like safeguarding my position from that end because I know that there's too much work going on. But in the near future, I want to do more to bring people together in the physical space, like not just digitally, but like build like community pods that can like help each other grow and flourish. So I know that's something that I've been thinking about. I just need to put it down and like articulate it better.
Wow, that's
Okay.
really
So,
nice.
should we ask people if can you put in your questions in the chat box for ma'am before we end the session?
Yeah.
If anyone has questions, you can put it in the chat box.
But I think that's great, Karishma, what you're doing. Like this community pods idea thing, I feel like it's going to be big and we really more power to you. And I
Thank
hope
you
like
so much.
I recently saw that you guys reached 1 million and I saw the excitement. So I hope like you reach the 10 million mark soon.
Yeah, I so we have this glass thing in office,
Yeah.
and like it's like and our office is glass, which is really bad if you want to like sneak in a quick nap because there's literally nowhere you can go. But there's this one glass wall where we had like a map of India drawn, and it said 1 million strategy, and we actually did
Yeah.
a really insane strategy that to get us there. And then she was like erasing, Parni was erasing it and writing 2, and I said, just add a 0. We'll make it 10. Like, I'm not, let's like think bigger. And she's like, let's enjoy it. I said, yeah, sure, but it's
Yeah.
Ma'am, someone has a question for you. It's by Yashvi. She asks, how has meditation transformed your life?
okay, so it's completely transformed my life because what you need to realize is that we have these thoughts all the time. You have a little voice in your head that's telling you something right now, or you have this subconscious mind constantly working where they'll tell you really negative, berating things like sometimes, like you're not good enough, or like you're not going to get there, or like you're going to like not ace your exams, whatever, like contextually in your life. Um, you need to shut that voice up, and that happens with meditation where you're able to align and come to a single focal point and singular focus of I'm going to feed what I want more than what I'm ever going to feed what I don't want. Because if you feed what you don't want, you'll notice that it shows up in your life. It's happened to me, and I actually do this stuff. So I'm like, I know like how rampantly it's happened with me when I like really fixate on a problem and it just becomes bigger, and then I meditate and I take the energy out of it, and then it dissipates literally. So meditation is a life changer. And there's a really okay, so I really blame the institution of schooling for this, is because when we were in school they'd say like, oh, meditate, like shut your eyes. I was
Yeah.
like, the boring thing in the world, because you're a kid, you don't know what you're doing, and like you just shut your eyes and like you'd rather be playing or whatever. But if they were instructive and said, look, if you meditate and do XYZ and think about these things, everybody would be meditating from a younger age. And the second premonition is that meditation is associated and spirituality is associated with like white beards and like older nuanced people.
Yeah, true.
You need to start meditating. I know when I have kids, and my sister does this with her kids. My nephew meditates. He's 4 years old, and he
Wow.
does it better than most people I know. And when I do have kids, I know that the first thing I teach them is like that, and like it's something that's so paramount and so important to everybody to truly live out the human experience that we're here to kind of feel. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true, because it's quite, even like personally, and I'm sure a lot of people will even agree with me, it's quite difficult even to meditate. Like even if I try to meditate, my focus is like on something else which I have to do the next time or something
Fine,
like that.
right? Which is fine. You bring your thoughts back and like you get better. It's like practice. How are you speaking English to me today? You didn't start speaking English to me from the very beginning or from this time you exited the room. You were trained to do it. You train your mind to be focused. And the problem is that the later you get, the more impatient you get. So you're like, okay, you know what, my thoughts are wavering. This meditation thing is really not working out. But when you were a kid, you were trained to not give up. So why can't you train yourself now to be like, no, I have to meditate. This is something I need to do. And like as imperative, I would put this in a single line, like as imperative as it is for your body to eat food, it is imperative for your mind to receive meditation. You must do it.
Yes, that's really great.
Wow, that's, I think, really motivated me now to try meditation out.
Yeah.
Definitely. So I think I have one last question. So
Okay.
there is this term like the social media bubble. So we have one question. I'm going to reframe it. Someone's asked, how has success changed your lifestyle? But I'd ask you, how has it changed your behavior on social media? I mean, do you think you're as candid after like becoming public as you were like before, maybe when you were in uni, or like how is that? Because now you're a social figure.
No chance. So like it comes with its negatives. Like I mean, I'm still pretty candid. I would like to say, like, especially on Twitter, I'm like very, very brazen with my opinions, especially on politics and things like that. But it definitely moderated a lot more. Like
Hmm.
in college, it was all about chugging beer. Now not. But like I just feel like I do try to like be as real as possible, because that's like every time I post something, it's what I truly feel, and
Hmm.
I'm never untrue to what I'm saying. Like I won't post something that I don't believe in. But having said that, I won't post everything. So
Right.
yeah, I think either or situation.
Right.
Should we take one last question?
Sure.
Sure.
So, someone by Sanika has asked you, how do you deal with criticism on your page?
Mhm.
So I'm very like I'm usually super like whatever about it. But in the recent, I had a article about us on the print, and that got to me on a fundamental level because it was an opinion piece, but it was defamatory and derogatory. And my
Hmm.
problem was not so much with the piece as it was with the ethics of journalism. So I called up the editor of the print and I said, look, I don't really care that you posted this about me. What I do care about is the fact that under the veil of opinion, you cannot be defamatory and you cannot be derogatory just because you're protected by law. And that's my problem. And I, how do I deal with criticism? I don't. I'm being honest. I really don't. I really get upset and I get really emotional about it. But like, I've reached a stage where I have to kind of just like take the good, take the bad, and be like, this is what I chose for myself, and I'm not gonna be like a sucker about it and be like, that we can't, like that I can't, like that I can't deal with it because I have to. That's the truth. Like I'll take a days too much. I'll take a few hours off and like ask not to like be bothered about it, but like there's no dealing with it, and that's just the honest truth. Like no matter how big you get, even if you're Priyanka Chopra or like you're Warren Buffett, I promise you, any kind of criticism gets under your skin.
True.
So I'm just being real about it and saying that there's no magic formula. You just gotta like take it with a pinch of salt. And honestly speaking, by the 10th, 15th time, it's like okay, like the blow has softened. I'm like kind of fine with it.
Okay, that's good. Okay, so we would like to end this session and we would like to thank you, Karishma, for joining us. And I'm really, really happy that you said that you chose to come and like give us and talk to us. So I'm really happy about that. You have truly inspired all of us, I'm sure. And thank you for even like coming up with the official Humans of Bombay page. Because even for me, like if I'm reading your stories, it's quite a very relatable even with our own lives. So it's like great to read about your stories. So thank you so much for that. We
Anytime.
would like to thank Principal Sir for supporting our activities, Dr. Rajendra Shinde, and Dr. Sam for being the faculty advisor, and Keshav Sir for helping us with the technicals. Like, we would have done nothing without him because we are like so bad at
I
that.
was like, yeah, sure. Like, how many people expecting like 20-ish? And she was like, no, there's more. I said, Zoom has that capability. I didn't even know.
That's true.
Thank you for being so candid with us. I think it was great. Like it
Of
was.
course, that's why I'm not, look, honestly speaking, also like sometimes my team tells me don't do it because I end up saying things very candidly, and that's why I always give a disclaimer, because I end up just saying what I really feel, and that may not necessarily be applicable, but
Right.
all well that ends well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming. Like, truly, thank you so much.
Anytime.
We would also like everyone to, can you just put on your camera? We just need to take one screenshot.
Yeah.
Can we get like everybody together, or like, because I see like 3 slides.
Yeah.
No. So I think you have to switch on your like your gallery view.
Yeah.
I
Then,
can. Yeah.
but if everyone is like,
No, even in my gallery view, it says 1 of 2.
Oh.
I mean, now people are coming on, so I guess it's
Are they great?
Or else we can capture it and send it to you.
Yeah, please. Okay, I'll definitely upload it.
Oh, thank you.
Have fun. I see all of you. Hi.
Hi.
Everybody looks super comfortable at home, like earphones on and like in bed. This is ideal. We should cancel all events in the future and just do this.
We would love to have you again. I'm sure we'll get
Yeah.
great response for you. We were like, so
And next time in college, like we'd want you to come to Xavier's and address a larger crowd and
I've come to
inspire.
Xavier, by the way, to do a
Oh.
couple of interviews. I love the architecture. It's super nice.
oh, yeah, we are like fine with our architecture. We're like, we always go, so we're like, yeah, everyone just says about that.
Yeah.
We're so used to it in college right now.
We wish you all the best, Karishma. Thank you so much. This
Thank you
was
everybody
really
for like
great.
taking time out, and like you guys look super happy and you look super like young, and like I remember my college days. So like thanks for having me. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. Do give us feedback on SIC. Do let us know. And we have speaker sessions coming up tomorrow and day after. So please tune in. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thanks, Karishma. Bye.
Thank you so much.